So now, when I said that when you create a container, what is that exactly you're going to put inside? But before that, let's try to understand what do you mean by container in the generic way. So it's actually, you can compare this to a shipping company. Now we know that how do we do export and import. So basically one of the method of transportation for that is shipping. Now when you have a ship and in that you would like to send some or export some goods. So now for the same shipping company, there will be product like you might send rice, and you might try to send some raw goods like iron, and you might also send something like dairy products. Okay, now when you have different things to put, how is that you're going to ship everything into the same ship? Because now if I have everything related to rice, I need to have a separate environment for it, right? The temperature and the moisture content should be different. Same way, if I'm trying to send a dairy product, then I need to put it under a freezer. So that is how, just for one, I cannot put everything into a freezer, right? I cannot make the whole ship into a AC compartment. So that is the first requirement that I said yesterday or in the previous class, that if you have different requirements, how is that you're going to adopt? So that way, you can see the solution. What the shipping companies have done is they don't put everything together. So basically the ship will be just plain. On top of that, you put boxes, okay? And boxes by boxes, you will be putting the content. So that is how these boxes are called as containers, where now you can use a specific container for storing some particular type of goods. So now if you want to ship certain dairy products, then you can have only as many containers as you want, and inside that you can have the specific freezing or whatever option and then store everything. Then on top of it, I can create one more container and I can have specific rice related or raw goods. So that is how, rather than putting everything into one, you can create containers where on a particular container you put whatever that is needed and then you try to do the export or import. So that's how all in the movies you would be seeing, whenever they show the shipping, it'll be a huge rectangular box called as containers, which they will be transporting, where you will be using specific containers inside which you will be having all a similar kind of product or goods that you want to ship. Same way, now if you take the operating system concept, now a container is nothing but a box, you can assume, where you put whatever that you want inside it and it will be used as a separate machine. And unlike the normal virtualization, what is that you're going to put? Now each container or a box has to be treated separately like a unique operating system. So that is when I said inside it you will be putting certain operating systems bootable file. So using that, if you go inside the container, it will be treated as a separate operating system. So that way, what is that files that you put regarding to a operating system? So basically that is the image of an operating system. Okay, so in Docker, for every operating system you will be having a image. So now if I create a container like an empty box, inside that empty box if I put a particular image of the Docker, then after putting the image, if you go inside the container, it will be working as a separate operating system. So if I want to work on Red Hat, I will create a container which will be empty, and inside the container I'll be putting a image of the Red Hat, so that if I go inside the container now, we will be working as if it is a separate Red Hat machine. Same way, if I create one more container and inside that if I put CentOS Docker image, then using this image file, when you go inside the container, you will be working as if it is a separate operating system. So that is how you will be using this Docker image, and by which the container will be treated as a separate operating system. Okay. So what exactly does the image contain? That is what we need to know. So the image, when I say, it is a specific Docker image. It is not like any other operating system image. So it will contain layers of layers on top of it. Okay. So if you say that you have a particular Docker image, now in that, the base or the first layer that you have will be the bootable file system of that operating system. So only through which it will be recognizing or treating the container as a separate operating system. Okay, so that is the first layer that you will be having, whereas on top of that, whatever specific files or applications, whatever that you install or configure, will be as a separate layer on top of your bootable file system. So that is what an image will be basically consisting of. So if you want to have a deeper understanding, you can consider the Docker's image is nothing but an operating system without a kernel. So now when I say operating system, by default, it will be having a kernel, which is the one which will be doing all the processing. So every operating system will have a kernel, which is the heart of the operating system. And that is the one which does all the processing on what to do and when to do and how to do. Okay, so that way, whatever the image that we are going to use in the Docker is actually a image specific to the Docker, in which you will not be having the kernel, whereas the other things, whatever is needed to treat the operating system as a unique operating system, you will be having certain files, and that is what you will be having in an image. So that is what a Docker image is, nothing but a complete operating system minus kernel, because only if you have a kernel, it is going to be treated as a whole operating system and you need all the resources for it. If not, we can just consider the image, that is a Docker image, as an operating system without a kernel. Okay, so now if you say that you are working on Docker, it's all about creating a container, which is nothing but like an empty box or an empty processes, and inside which you will have to choose a particular image of an operating system where you want to work, and corresponding to that, you will have to put the Docker image inside it, and then when you go inside the container, you will be working as if it is a separate operating system. Okay, so that's how images, it's all about different layers put together, where it will be having the boot file system as the first layer, which will not have the kernel, but other than that, whatever files is needed to understand it as an operating system, you'll be having it. Okay, and thereafter, anything that you try to install, configure, or store in that container will be stored as a layer by layer on top of the image. Getting it? Karnakar, Satish, Vinay.
Hey Adam,
Yes.
uh, actually we will install this Docker on a physical box, right?
You can install it
First.
physical box or on a existing virtual machine also.
No, what I'm asking, like if first we will install on physical box Docker, after that we'll on the top of Docker we'll install the containers, right?
Yes, Docker is just an software which will help you to create containers.
Containers. Docker is help to create the containers.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So inside it, now you will be using this image through which only we will be treating it as a separate operating system.
Okay.